taught me how to live. Daddy taught me how to give. Both of them had their own sins. Down to the river, every man has felt the shame. All our blood, it runs the same. Father, hear us as we pray. Down to the river, down to the river. Sing, oh, oh, bury me, carry me, oh, oh, far beneath, oh, oh, fire and water me, going down deep, singing, oh, oh, bury me, carry me, oh, oh, far beneath, oh, oh, fire and water me, washing me clean, carry
Hi, welcome to the Cryptid Wilderness Research Podcast. I am CWR Team member Daniel Becker up here in Anchorage, Alaska, staring into the Arctic abyss. Joining me, as always, from Quincy, Washington, my fellow host, Matt Slater.
Hello.
So, Matt, I've been so excited about today's show, and L.A. Marzulli's back with us. And it's been about a year since we had him on. And if you remember, the last time we had him on, you and I got some heat for that show.
We did. We got a lot.
And it seems like anytime you come from a biblical perspective, people got something to say. You know, we've had guests on that have no problem with the theories of Sasquatch being an interdimensional being, a extraterrestrial, and so on and so on. No problems. But as soon as you mention a Nephilim connection, for some reason, people come unglued. But that is a very, very valid theory. And it deserves a place on the main stage of the Sasquatch theories. But today, we'll talk about Sasquatch a little bit, but I want to talk about the mound builders. And the reason I asked LA to talk about this particular topic is because Newark, Ohio is my hometown. Yes, I'm in Alaska, but Newark will always be home. And I grew up around these mounds. And there's a lot of controversy surrounding these mounds. And we wanted to ask LA about it. So let's bring author, filmmaker, and lecturer L.A. Marzulli in.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
L.A., thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. So just to reacquaint ourselves with your series regarding the mound builders, we just watched The Mysterious Mound Builders. Both Matt and myself watched that again. Yeah. And, you know, so well done. And it was one of those, being from Newark originally, it was one of those DVDs that needed to happen. Yeah. And the reason I say that is because I grew up around these mounds. My Cub Scout troop would go to mound builders, earthworks in the park, and we'd walk on those mounds. Yeah. And I remember hearing in school, oh, those mounds were built by the Native Americans, you know, the Shawnees, the Delawares, and the various Ohio tribes. But I always had a problem with that. I was just like, how could this be? Being, you know, the little bit that I knew about the Native Americans and their tools. So, LA, why don't you break it down for us about these mounds and tell us about your great DVD and series?
Well, thank you. There's actually 8 films in the On the Trail of a Nephilim series, and we focus in on several of them in Ohio. But I mean, there's a byline I use in all the films. There's a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world. And what is the Smithsonian so afraid of? I'll just tell you a story. I had a call from a researcher. There's a private museum in Ohio. They found in a box someplace in the attic in the basement a box of bones, and they were giant bones. So immediately we were all over it like white on rice. We called, we'll give a donation. All we want to do is take pictures, measurements, take some DNA samples. Just like that, the door slammed shut. Somebody got to them, and the whole thing is off the table, completely off the table. And it begs the question, many of these museums, specifically the Smithsonian, are funded by taxpayer money. And yet they have a religion which they espouse constantly. That religion is the religion of Darwinism. And it is a religion because it's a belief system. It is a belief system. You believe that there is no God, no miracles, no supernatural, no anything, just mindless evolution. Well, that's your religion. That's your faith. That's what you believe in. As a Christian, I believe in the exact opposite. I believe in an all-seeing, all-knowing, all-loving God who spoke everything into existence and the story. And I believe in his son, Jesus, who died for our sins. I mean, that's how it works. And with the knowledge of a personal relationship with him, everything begins to change. Why do they obfuscate this? Why do they cover it up? Because it points back, in my opinion, it points back to the validity of our paradigm, the supernatural worldview. It points back to the validity that there is a supernatural world. There are miracles. There is prophecy. Someone did rise from the dead. All that is true. And when you just show someone prophecy, well, how does the prophecy, behold, a virgin shall conceive? Well, they just wrote that and then they staged it. Oh, really? So how does that work? How about he'll be born in Bethlehem? How does that work? How about during the crucifixion, I think there's like 22 or 23 prophecies that are being fulfilled in a very short period of time. The odds of that, and I got this, I forget the name of the book, but it would be like covering the state of Texas with silver coins a foot deep, and then throwing a gold coin in the middle of that someplace. Go find the gold coin. In other words, it's one with a gazillion zeros. It's impossible. The bulls of Bashan have circled me. I'm going somewhere with this, okay? But the bulls of Bashan have encircled me. That's a prophecy. They divide my garments. That's a prophecy. They will pierce my hands and feet. That's a prophecy. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Well, all that was a construct. They were just fulfilling the prophecy. Oh, really? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. But you tell that to the non-believer and they're gobsmacked. And there's no way out of that. That's why prophecy, in my opinion, is so incredible. So we have to ask ourselves, there's a deliberate obfuscation by the powers that be that are funded for the most part, with taxpayer money. Oh, you can't see that. Oh, you're a pseudo-archaeologist. Oh, you're a pseudoscientist. Let me explain something. When I go and I try to get DNA testing, oh, you're a pseudoscientist. Excuse me, really? No, you just don't like the results of the artifact that I've given you. You don't like the results that we got from 56 samples that Mondo Gonzalez and I took from Peru out of the 56, and this was all done legally, by the way. Out of the 56 samples, 28 of them sequenced. Out of the 28, 18 showed a Middle Eastern origin. You just don't like that because it upholds our theory, which is diffusionism, that people spread out, not isolationism, not sitting in one place for 500 years. Diffusionism, they spread out. And that's what you can see the two skulls behind me. When you look at the mounds, circling back to that, there's a paradigm, which is, Native Americans built all this. But we know, we have it in our film, Chief Wallace of the Shawnee comes on the record and basically says, well, we didn't build these. They were here when we got here. Then she's completely, and I say this with all due respect, she's welcome to come on my show and defend herself, but I'm just quoting. Now she says, oh no, our ancestors were super geniuses. Well, how come things got switched there? Chief Joseph Riverwind, who's in our film, states on the record that the Shawnee didn't do this. Native Americans didn't do this. So let's walk through it. We have a film coming out. I keep threatening to get it done. Hold on. We filmed it 2 years ago, and it's still not edited. My fault. Because only I can edit it. I mean, I even if I hire somebody to run the computer, only I can edit it because I know what I'm trying to say. Even my business partner, Gil Zimmerman, he has to wait for the rough cut before he can dive in. So I'm in a heap of trouble. It's all my fault. Okay. We went to the octagon mound. So I'm going to draw you freehand an octagon. Okay. 8-sided octagon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's a real sloppy octagon, LA. There's an octagon right there. Really horrible, right? That's freehand. Well, I could spend a lot more time on this, but I would need a ruler and a protractor. I need to know what the angles are here. So I just freehanded that. This side's not so bad, but then it just goes off the rails, okay? So it's a horrible octagon, LA. And the octagon mound in Nurkahaya, I'm saying it the way, right?
You said it right. You said it right.
Nurkahaya, I was schooled. I was schooled in that. Thank you, Greg Mysterioso. Nurkahaya. So the octagon mound in Ohio encompasses 50 acres of land. You got that? 50 acres. And it's an unequal octagon, which means 2 of its sides are not equal. So we're supposed to believe that Native Americans who have no knowledge of geometry did this. And in our film, which is not yet done or edited, we sit down with a college level mathematician. She teaches at the collegiate level. And she's got a protractor and a ruler, and she knows geometry. So but she's deconstructing the octagon mound and showing us just how complex it is. So you got the octagon mound here. You've got a gateway, which goes to the circle mound, the Great Circle Mound. So the octagon, 50 acres, the gateway, the circle mound, 20 acres. At the back of a circle mound, there's a platform where you can stand. And you would look through the gateway, and every 18 and a half years, you would watch the moon come down and sit in that gateway. It's called the lunar standstill. Native Americans did not know about the 18 and a half year lunar cycle. They had no idea. And I'm not saying that to disparage them. Many European countries had no idea of it. And to give you an idea, the moon comes up here one night, and then it sets over here. Next night, it can come up over here and then set way over here. Next night, it can come here and then set. It's all over the map. So in order to map that, you'd have to put stakes in the ground. You'd have a stationary observatory and put stakes in the ground where the moon comes up and where the moon sets. But how do you know where you are? You don't know. You're just, let's say right now, we just jumped in. Well, we don't know where in that 18 and a half year cycle where we are. See how complex it gets? So how do they know this? Well, we know from the Book of Enoch. Oh, L.A. just jumped into the Book of Enoch, Dead Sea Scrolls, found him in Dead Sea Scrolls, quoted by the Book of Jude. He's talking about the supernatural, and I don't believe in the supernatural. But maybe you need to change your paradigm, or at least look at it. The Book of Enoch tells us that a fallen angel came down by the name of Sariel and gave to mankind the course of the moon, the 18 and a half year lunar cycle. That's where it comes from, because they knew and we didn't. It's handed to us. So we're supposed to believe that Native Americans knew this kind of geometry, and then spent the time somehow as hunter-gatherers to create this unbelievable earthwork, the octagon mound and the gateway and the circle mound. Not buying it. But it gets even worse, and that word really should be in our dictionaries because it's such a great word. It gets worse, okay? So when we go to Cahokia, which is the largest mound in North America, what is it, 450 tons of earth? Something like that, 450 tons of earth? And we're supposed to believe, we show this. When I show this clip to people, the audience just erupts in laughter. So we're supposed to believe that Native Americans used clamshell hose and digging sticks and deer antlers, and then put everything in birch bark baskets and created 450,000 tons of earth, and then somehow compacted it to make Cahokia. I mean, guys, and then the plaza is 40-acre plaza is level within, I think, 2 or 3 inches. The Great Circle Mound in Ohio, in Nurkahaya, the Great Circle Mound in Ohio, we hired a surveyor. And basically, that circle mound, when you go inside, there's a moat inside the circle mound, okay? When you go inside the circle mound and you use modern surveying techniques, it's within 6 inches to a foot of being dead level. And accounting for the thousands of years that it's been there, well, that's, tree leaves and stuff. So basically, for all practical purposes, it's dead level. Well, how do you do that? 2,000 years ago. Well, you could bring water in. Well, how do you bring the water in? See where I'm going with this? I mean, there's a hidden history that's been deliberately obfuscated from the peoples of the world because it points back to a supernatural worldview. And the Darwinists, think about this. When you're LA, you're making a case against Darwinism in the scientific and the academic community. Excuse me. When I was in 10th grade and I was being taught Darwinism as fact in 10th grade and the evolutionary theory as fact in the 10th grade, how does that get a pass? How is it when I walk into the Field Museum in Ohio, and I mean, I could show you, I've got the book behind me, but there's a mural on a wall. It's like 20 feet by, I don't know, 20 feet wide by 10 feet high, something like that. And it's a quote from Charlie Darwin. From so simple a beginning, numerous species are being formed. Charlie didn't know about the DNA molecular structure. Now we do. Now we know that the DNA, the double helix, the spiral of life, is a complex coding system, very complex. And somebody created that. So the neo-Darwinists are looking out there to the stars. We were seeded here by an advanced race of extraterrestrials. Christians, we go, no, we were fearfully made in the image and likeness of God. What's so hard about that? You know, I mean, do you really think that, you know, this, and if the aliens, let's say from Zeta Reticuli or Epsilon Eridani, created us and seeded us here, well, where did they come from? So it's circular reasoning, isn't it? It's circular reasoning. And when you sit down and you press an ardent Darwinist or an atheist, they really have no answers to anything. And it's a hopeless, their worldview is incredibly hopeless. Well, what's the purpose of life? Well, there is no purpose, just to reproduce. Oh, really? That's it?
One of the things that you pointed out in the DVD was that their theory basically collapses on itself, you know, which is a perfect description. And, you know, for those of you who have not seen any of LA's series or DVDs, let me tell you something. He does his homework. You know, he approaches it from every angle. And one of the things that I liked, it was a simple thing, but even to a non-Christian, for example, you demonstrated with the primitive tool what it would be like to have to try to move some of that earth, you know. And even if you don't believe in a spiritual aspect, you can't deny that.
Yeah, we and Rick Woodward, our team's anthropologist, but the team has not been assembled in years. So, but he's still our team anthropologist, and I hired him to construct a replica of a stone hoe, because a clamshell hoe ain't going to do it, and a deer antler, that's a joke. So they had to have something. So okay, so we hired a flint knapper who made this wonderful hoe, and we show it in the film. And he's out there and he's, you know, digging with the hoe, and it works really well. And then there's no shovels, so he's picking up the dirt and putting it into a bucket. We didn't have a birch skin basket. But who's making the birch skin basket? See where I'm going? You know, you don't go down to the five and dime and go, yeah, I need 3 birch skin baskets, please. Birch bark baskets or a deer skin basket. Can I get 3? That doesn't work that way. So, you know, how long does it take to make a birch bark basket? A couple hours, a day? I don't know. But it's not, you got to go peel the birch bark, first of all. You got to cure it. You've got to create the actual basket and then line it with the birch bark. I mean, again, this is not, you know, this is like, right? So we show the guy gathering up the dirt and putting it in the birch bark, just a bucket. And then he carries the bucket to the site, and then he dumps the bucket and he presses it down with his feet. Well, we know from excavations that were done that the dirt was compacted so hard that they don't know how it was done. And I keep asking, well, has anybody done compaction tests? Oh, and I can't get an answer. You know, wouldn't that be the first thing you would do, is take a compaction test and find out how did they do that? Well, they had 20 guys with a big log and they went smash, smash. The Adena mounds are not like the mounds that we're talking about. Let's say the Great Circle Mound, the Octagon Mound. Most of the mounds are like this. Well, the Adena mounds are like this. The side, I'm trying to get it so it, there we go. The sides are really steep. I'm trying to do it. They're not like this, but they're steep. Can I go down it? I'm a skier. I can go down it, but it's not user friendly. You're not going to take your 5-year-old down that mound. No way. So the sides are really steep. How is that done? How is the dirt compacted? And when they went into that mound in Moundsville in West Virginia, they discovered that they didn't need to shore up the ceiling because the dirt was compacted somehow so hard that everything just, and there was a museum inside that mound. How do we know that? Because we found a lithograph with a giant skeleton in a wooden box. All right. And we did it. That's a whole other story, and I won't get into it. But later on, someone took that picture that we discovered. It was a lithograph, a photograph of a lithograph in a magazine from like 1880, 1890, something like that. And it showed a giant skeleton. Well, the powers that be took that photograph, and the box is still there. They just shrunk the skeleton so it would be a normal height. Well, why would anybody do that? And we're still trying to get an answer to that. Why would anybody do that? They have an axe to grind, in my opinion. So has there been any compaction tests? As far as I know, no. And I mean, that's a smoking gun, because if you can't do it, then you can't do it. If you don't know how, it's like Sakse Waman. You know, let me, I should get the book. Hold on. Give me a second. So this is on the trail of a Nephilim. All right. So when you go to a place like Sakse Waman, and this is all in our film series, so you can see the people below. Well, look at that. I mean, just look at that, and then look at this. Yeah, this is the one I wanted right here. See, Irene is Brian Forrester's wife. Let me try to get it so it's not glaring. See how small she is? Look at those stones. And they tell us that the Inca did this with copper chisels. Okay, so most people don't do what we do. So a gentleman sent me a video of, they had a block of andesite stone, which is the stone that they created that wall that I just showed you. And they have a copper chisel. He hits it one time. He lays the chisel on the stone, hits it one time, and then shows the point. The point's completely dull. One hit. So if you can't cut andesite stone with a copper chisel, then quit lying to us, telling us that the Inca built this. If we look at some, let me just show you. And Brian, once again, you know, I owe some of this to Brian Forrester, not that he discovered it, but Brian was our guide. And what was incredible here, let me show you this picture right here, because it's either this one or the next one. It's just, I'd love to go back to Peru, but the Lord's not giving me marching orders yet. So, and maybe that's for a reason. So this is an area in Cusco. You can see the woman. This is all that's left of the wall. Look right above, right? Now that is the Spanish, and this is the Inca. You see the difference? Right there is the Inca. And above that is the Spanish. You've got 3 different builders there. 3 different builders. And they're trying to tell us that there's no difference. Are you flipping? I mean, it's a bald-faced lie. And the problem I have is with the academic and the scientific community. They run roughshod over this. This is the paradigm. Are you aware that Archaeology 101, you spend your time looking for people who are pseudo-archaeologists, of which I am a chief, and you debunk them. You try to debunk them. Well, our DNA evidence that we did on the elongated skulls, just show us, how do you debunk that? The data is there, and the machine where you take the samples that we did and you put it in the machine, they could care less what my belief system or my worldview is. It's going to spit out the data. But if it goes against the prevailing paradigm, oh, now you're a pseudoscientist. Oh, now you're a pseudo-archaeologist. Somehow it doesn't count. And so far, no one's ever proven us wrong. And we are doing more testing from other samples that we have, and legally, by the way, out of Peru. And hopefully next year in February, March, we will do a press conference. That's all I can say about it.
Now, you and Mondo, you guys go all in. And That's awesome. It is a significant investment of finances and time, and this is serious business. So tell us about Joshua and Caleb when they pushed into the promised land, and what happened to the Nephilim tribes.
Well, first of all, we got to go back to Genesis 3:15, where this overarching statement given by the pre-incarnate Christ is given to the dragon, i.e. Satan, and Adam and Eve. And the Lord says, Jesus says to the dragon, your seed, your offspring, will be at war, at enmity with the offspring of the woman. The one coming from the woman, the proto-evangelium, will crush your head, you will bruise his heel. That's the whole entire Bible. 3 chapters later in Genesis 6, we get the eruption of the Nephilim. The fallen angels come to earth. They take wives. I wrote a whole book on this counter move, how the Nephilim returned after the flood. Also the cosmic chess match. Those two together give you the whole deal. So they come, they take wives, and they completely contaminate the genome to the point where only 8 people are saved on the ark. That's it. Everybody else is somehow their genetics have been messed up. We don't know how, but this is why only 8 people, because it says, but Noah was pure in all his generations, as his sons and their sons' wives were all pure in their generations. There's no, and Ham's wife was not a Nephilim. She's not carrying a Nephilim gene. There's a second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth incursion. So when we get up to the promised land, have you ever wondered why the Lord hardens Pharaoh's heart over and over and over again?
I have.
I'll tell you why, in my opinion. And not because I'm so smart, because he showed it to me. He hardens Pharaoh because I'm reading it going, wait a minute. Why is the Lord hardening Pharaoh's heart? What's going on here? Why are you doing this? I'm yelling, at the Bible, right? Yelling at God. Why are you doing this? And the Lord finally said one day, well, I'm showing the Israelites that I am the true God. Because I hardened Pharaoh's heart, he won't let them go. Over and over. They see all the stuff. They see all the 10 plagues. They watch me work. They watch me work over and over and over again. You can trust me. I'm the one true God. You can trust me. Because he knows when they get up to Canaan, they're not going to trust him. The 12 spies are sent out. First of all, the Lord never told them to send out the spies. Second of all, 10 of them come back. Oh, the giants were there. Oh, we're like grasshoppers. We're all going to die. Joshua and Caleb, no, we can do this. That whole generation wanders in the desert. They all perish. The clothes don't wear out. They're supernaturally fed. Now they're on the gates of the promised land. Before them are all the different tribes of the Nephilim. It is the culmination of the seed war on steroids, completely on steroids, because you've got the Nephilim, the Rephaim, the Emim, the Zanzamim, the Anakim. They're all there. All the Nephilim tribes are there in the land. They're not all giants, the Horites, and you got the 12 tribes. You've got the seed of the woman manifesting. Messiah is going to come from one of those tribes. The dragon doesn't know which one yet. Nobody knows. But he knows that Abraham's been tapped out. He knows that it's going to be one of these, so he's always looking. This is why Pharaoh starts killing off the firstborn. The firstborn. And, for those of you out there who don't believe in the Nephilim and hold on to the Sethite theory, think again. When Jesus states 2,000 years ago, it'll be like the days of Noah when I return. Everybody's going, wait, ho, ho, ho. Not so fast, fellow. What do you mean when you return? So where are you going? That in itself is like that nobody gets it. But everyone in earshot 2,000 years ago know exactly what Jesus is saying. Why? Because we know from Josephus, the first century Jewish historian, that the bones of the Nephilim were openly on display in Jerusalem at the time of Jesus's walking around the streets. Everyone knows exactly what he's talking about.
Right.
Everyone knows exactly what he's talking about. Then, in the 4th century, you get the knucklehead, Julius Africanus, who invents the Sethite theory, which is now the predominant paradigm in which seminarians are taught. No fallen angels, can't mix the seed, impossible. It's the godly line of Seth and the hoochie mamas of Cain. And they never understand what's going on. They never understand the seed war. So when you get to the conquest of Canaan, you have no idea what you're looking at. Then it's got to be genocide, isn't it? And I've heard Pastor tap dance around this, doing the Texas two-step in ways that just defy any type of reasonable logic. But the moment we plug in Genesis 3:15 and the ongoing seed war, everything unravels, everything makes perfect sense. It's not genocide. These are Nephilim. They are different species of them, but they are soulless. And this is why the Israelites go in. So when they go in, there's a diaspora. The giants, the Nephilim tribes know that they're being decimated, wiped out. There's a diaspora. How do we know that? That's what the book On the Trail of a Nephilim gets into in our 8-part series, On the Trail of a Nephilim. One of my favorite films in that, if you haven't seen that, is Lost Civilizations. It's because I go all over the world filming these places. And you know what? There's 33 films and 15 books. I'm not saying the Lord's done with me, but he took me off the conference trail. We're focusing on the YouTube channel. We've got 262,000 subscribers. That's pretty good. And we're growing, constantly growing. So, he's changing our ministry. I know that my plate is full. So I know he's not giving marching orders to L.A. Finish On the Trail of a Nephilim #9. Get that Nurkahaya, octagon mound. Get that thing done. And I need to.
So Joshua and Caleb push into the promised land. They're in there taking care of business. So as I understand it, the Nephilim tribes who see what's happening, they flee.
Yep.
To Peru, different places in Europe, and also it said the Ohio Valley. So the giants are in Ohio, and they've created these mounds that I believe. And later on, Ohio becomes a centerpiece in the Midwest for Sasquatch sightings. Could it be possible that the Sasquatch in Ohio are somehow linked to all of this?
Yeah, these are highly charged sites, number one. They were sites where human sacrifice was practiced, number two. They are Nephilim architecture, fallen angel technology. And this is the dragon's work. And this is why they're there. And this is why that whole area is very depressed, very weird. A lot of drug addiction, weird stuff happens there. I mean, I've had all sorts of stories. I've created my own stories by doing stuff. It's like Elmer Fudd. I remember we were at a conference years ago in Ohio, and we were finished the conference at a pastor's church. And I walk out and I look at the sky and I go, that's a tornado sky. It was green. It was scalloped like this. So we drive into town, and now we're right next to the Circle Mound. The Circle Mound was right across the street. We were at some Mexican restaurant or whatever. Circle Mound's right across the street. We pull into the parking lot. It's like out of Ghostbusters. I'm not making this up. This black, ominous front is coming like this at us with lightning bolts. And then you would see the funnels of tornado funnels coming down. And somebody's got a film of this somewhere. I jump out of the car and I'm rebuking it in the name of Jesus. Not because of me, but because of him. That thing never touched down in Newark, Ohio. It skipped the town and went to the next town. And guess what? It was coming right over the Circle Mound. Oh, what a coincidence, L.A. Really? Talk to some of the people who live by the Circle Mound. I have. All sorts of crazy stuff happens there. I was there a couple of years ago with a Native American First Nation person, Doris. She's Apache. And I took her to the Circle Mound. She had never been there. And we were there around 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. Mondo was there with us, I think. And a bunch of people were there with us. And she goes, I go, well, Doris, what do you think? She goes, you don't see that, do you? And I go, no, I don't see anything. I'm a white guy. She goes, there are shadow people darting in and out of this thing like you can't believe. She could see them. I couldn't. I don't want to see them. But First Nation people, not all, but some of them have that gift, being able to see. They see things that we don't. That's just no doubt about it.
So before I throw the ball over to Matt so he can bring us home, I want to ask you, one last question, and this has to do with the mound, that's the serpent and the egg. Some people say that this is a big middle finger to the Most High. Other people say that it's a symbol of honor towards the dragon. Tell us about what you think about that.
I actually wrote a paper on that, a new paradigm for the serpent mound. So for those of you, hold on, let me just show you something. It's in the book. Okay, so here's the serpent mound right here.
Here we go.
So first of all, the serpent undulates like this, and you can see summer equinox, winter solstice, and what we see, summer solstice here, this is all very, very deliberate. So why are they making something like this? The second thing is, here's the serpent's mouth, and there's an egg right there. What we are looking at, in my humble opinion, is the Genesis 3:15 narrative on steroids. And where is it? It's in Ohio. And the paper I wrote on this, it's a new paradigm. It's Genesis 3:15. It's the dragon in the disc, which is in throughout Chinese literature. The dragon is trying to swallow, destroy that egg, the seed of the woman, the egg, right? And that's why is it there? You tell me, why is it? And they found giants. Of course, oh, no giants were found here, L.A. Nonsense. They were found there. There was a cave below that's been sealed up. Oh, isn't that interesting, right? It's the same thing wherever you go. They obfuscate, they cover up, they rewrite everything to suit their paradigm. And it's wrong. It's really wrong. The American people have a right to know our true origins and what's really going on this planet. And the academic and the scientific community has for too long run roughshod over the truth, in my opinion.
You are absolutely right, sir. So let's throw the ball over to Matt Slater to close us out and bring us home.
Yeah. So I mean, definitely appreciate you coming on the show, Mr. Marzulli. And after watching, the Mysterious Mound Builders, I watched that last night, and I agree with everything that you mentioned in that documentary. It's like you'd need 100,000 people or more with baskets and shovels and like
Make
the little
all
hose to even make a dent. 450,000 tons of compacted earth. It's just, I don't think people did that. The First Nations peoples are amazing. They've done amazing things in this land. They're great, but I don't think they built the mounds.
And they don't say that they did either. I mean,
right.
You have it on record. So why is the white anthropology? You want to talk about racism? Yeah. The racism is from the white anthropologists going, "Oh, you just forgot that you had built it." I mean, that's a matter of historical record. That's what they said. Well, Native Americans did all this. They just forgot that they had done so. Do you know how insulting that is? Yeah. Native Americans First Nation people spent a lot of time on keeping the oral tradition, the history of their people passed down orally. Are you kidding me? What an insult that is.
Exactly. Watching that documentary yesterday, I completely agree with everything that's said, everything that you say, and all the information that you posit in that documentary. It makes so much sense, more than they forgot.
Yeah, what an excuse, right? It's just
right.
L.A. Marzulli, thank you for being with us. But before we go, tell us about what you got going on. I know over at the lamarzulli.com shop, you've got some sales. Yeah. And you've got so much great stuff there.
Yeah, I mean, you can watch,
it's a mountain of information.
Thank you, Dan. You can watch Mysterious Mound Builders or any of the 8 on the Trail. You can watch any film, any 33 films, any of the 33 films that are there for $4.99 a piece. So it's pretty cheap. But on December 19th and 20th, we are holding a virtual conference, and we will be talking about the UFO disclosure because it's coming down. If you have not seen Age of Disclosure, you need to watch that film. We're going to be talking about Age of Disclosure. I interviewed Tim Alberino just about an hour ago, and Tim and I were talking about the film Age of Disclosure, what's happening in Washington, what people believe. I'll be showing that interview only exclusively on the 19th and 20th and we're going to call it The Coming Great Deception. That's the overarching theme, The Coming Great Deception. So we have nothing up yet, but it will be up probably next week. Vicki Joy Anderson, the author of Sleep Paralysis, They Only Come Out at Night, she'll be speaking. Karen Wilkinson will be speaking. Alan DiDio will be speaking. I already said Tim Alberino and others, all talking about the UFO phenomenon, the coming great deception, because that's in fact what it is.
Lots of stuff going on with L.A. Marzulli at lamarzulli.com. It's going to be a great 2026 for you and your team. And thank you so much again for
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
the time to be with us. And
Thanks, Daniel. Thanks, Matt.
We wish you all the best and
God bless you guys.
Success with your upcoming projects.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. God bless you.
God bless you. We'll see you later.